There's a silence that doesn't coincide with absence. It's like the moment held before the orchestra lifts its instruments. It's the electric suspension that hovers in the air just before a storm. The quiet that now envelops your life isn't a pause, but a prelude. You feel it clearly. The sudden distance from what once ignited you. The way old goals now seem empty, even if new horizons haven't yet taken shape. You are no longer who you were, but you're still unclear about who you're becoming. It's a disorienting experience. Sometimes you feel like you're falling apart, other times like you're on the brink of something immense, yet invisible. It's not chaos, it's the interlude. The soul doesn't announce the transformation with fanfare, but whispers through discomfort, fatigue, and unusual dreams. You're not lost, you're shedding skin. By the end of this video, you'll recognize the profound signs, the inner symbols of the soul that show you're not falling apart, you're being reborn. Jung reminded us that every rebirth doesn't arise in clarity, but is rooted in the shadows. Carl Jung argued that the most meaningful paths begin not with certainty, but with dissolution. He called this process individuation, the sacred dissolution of roles and masks, allowing the authentic self to emerge. Often, the catalyst is the very discomfort you feel now, that feeling that life is asking more of you without you being able to articulate it clearly. Jung wrote that there is no awareness without pain, because the old self must die for the true self to be born. It's not about success or putting the pieces together. The best phase is measured not by what you accomplish, but by what you integrate. When the shadow is welcomed, the inner child is re-embraced, and identity ceases to be a mask and becomes presence. It is then that external life reflects the soul you have always carried within. If your life today seems uncertain or undergoing small changes, perhaps you're not lost. You're on the threshold. Let's discover the 4 signs that indicate your soul is preparing for its brightest chapter. Sign number 1. The things that once fulfilled you no longer do. It all begins silently. A faint disinterest in what once thrilled you. A job that gave you a sense of purpose now feels like a sham. Conversations feel empty. Successes lose meaning. Even the pleasures that once thrilled you no longer touch you in the same way. It's like waking up and realizing you've outgrown your childhood clothes, not because they were wrong, but because you've simply outgrown them. Jung would call this the beginning of the detachment from the ego. The false self, the persona we wear to survive, begins to lose its grip. The masks you wore to be accepted, to please, to prove yourself, begin to itch. What nourished your identity now seems artificial. You're not broken. You're simply emptied of what no longer reflects who you're becoming. Yet, this shift isn't always graceful. Often you go through a shadow phase, a period of disillusionment. Apathy can creep in, as well as restlessness, even mourning, because letting go of the old doesn't yet offer you a clear vision of the new. You find yourself caught between 2 identities, too distant from the old to turn back, too uncertain about the new to move forward with clarity. But this discomfort is sacred. It indicates that something deeper is emerging. Your soul is making room. What once nourished your ego can no longer nourish your essence. The hunger remains, but now it cries out for something more meaningful, more aligned, more authentic. This is not a loss. It's a shedding of the old self that can no longer support the weight of your awakening. You may feel emptier, but you're more sincere. You may feel lonelier, but you're closer to the truth. So, if life seems strangely silent, unusually dull, don't rush to fill the void. Something deeper is coming. And before it does, your soul is clearing the space. Let it. Sign number 2. You're encountering parts of yourself you've avoided for years. It begins with a whisper, a dream, or an inexplicable reaction. Then, suddenly, it's as if a closed room inside you opens, letting light filter into areas long hidden. You find yourself confronted with emotions you thought were buried, forgotten memories, fragments of yourself you thought you'd let go. This is the moment Jung called shadow integration. The repressed self. Aspects of your personality, memory, and emotions that you had learned to hide for safety or acceptance begin to resurface, not to sabotage you, nor to destroy your progress, but to be seen, loved, reintegrated into the whole. It's confusing, even painful. You may feel more emotional than usual. Your triggers intensify. What you thought you'd overcome returns with greater force. And perhaps most unsettling, you feel less in control, as if the orderly, painstakingly constructed version of yourself is slipping through your fingers. But this isn't a regression, it's a reintegration. Your soul isn't asking you to go back, it's asking you to go within, to welcome those parts that once had to be exiled for your survival. The angry, the needy, the fearful, the wild, the dreamer, the grieving. These internal returns may appear as external discomfort, but what's really happening is wholeness. The fragmentation is ending. You're no longer willing to live in pieces. What you once called breakdowns are actually breakthroughs in disguise. And the truth is, you're not breaking down. You're returning to yourself, and that's where your power has always resided. In the silent center of your authentic self, the one that doesn't need repair, only to be remembered. So, if you're confronting yourself like never before, don't look away. You're not being tested. You're rediscovering the parts of your soul that are finally ready to return home. Sign number 3. Your life appears as a sequence of strange synchronicities. You look at the clock, it's 10:10. A song echoes exactly the thought you were having a moment before. A stranger utters a phrase that seems destined solely for your soul. You dream something obscure, and a few days later it manifests into reality. These events are not random. Carl Jung called them synchronicities, meaningful coincidences without any apparent causal connection, yet too precise to be ignored. According to Jung, these moments occur when the conscious and unconscious minds align. When your inner world shifts, the outer world responds not logically, but symbolically. These synchronicities are the breadcrumbs left by the soul. They indicate the presence of the self, the archetype of wholeness, which begins to play a more active role in your existence. When synchronicities increase, it's often a sign that you're approaching a threshold, a new path, a crucial decision, or a spiritual breakthrough. You are not lost, you are guided, and the signs, while not always comprehensible to the rational mind, speak directly to something deeper, an instinct, a sense of recognition, a subtle, sacred knowledge. This is not magical thinking, but symbolic existence. When you live in tune with the unconscious, integrate the shadow, listen to your dreams, follow your inner truth, the external world reflects this depth. What once seemed random becomes rhythmic. What once seemed chaotic acquires meaning. So, if your life seems to speak in riddles and signs, pay attention. It's not confusion, it's communication. The soul doesn't shout. It whispers through patterns, poetry, numbers, symbols, and moments that resonate with meaning. Follow them. The path may not be clear, but it will be authentic, and it will be yours. You are no longer wandering aimlessly. You are answering a call, a silent, insistent call to the version of life you were always destined to live. Sign number 4. You are simultaneously thrilled and terrified. Imagine this. You stand on the edge of a high cliff. The view is breathtaking. The air is vibrant. Your heart races, not from panic, but from an inner resonance. You sense that something awaits you just beyond the edge, yet your feet hesitate. This is the paradox of transformation. Carl Jung wrote that every authentic change is preceded by a symbolic death, the death of old identities, obsolete roles, false securities. And with this death comes a vivid trepidation, fear and excitement woven into the same breath. This emotional mix doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're perfectly on time. Because fear, in such moments, isn't always an alarm. Sometimes it's a threshold. It's the last stand before the turning point. The ego longs to take refuge in comfort. It disguises panic as logic. It whispers phrases like, "You're not ready," or "maybe later." But your soul is already halfway over the cliff and calls you back. This is the sacred duality of rebirth. It excites and terrifies you in equal measure. And that's precisely why you know it's real. That's precisely why you understand it matters. When you're about to enter a new chapter, aligned with your true self, don't expect serenity. Expect vitality. Expect shaking hands and a pounding heart. Expect the feeling of abandoning everything you thought necessary just to discover who you really are. So, if your dreams seem too big, too strange, too wonderful, and too impossible all at once, good. It means they weren't born of the ego. They were born of the soul, and the soul isn't content with less. This isn't the end of who you've been. It's the beginning of who you were always meant to be. If you're trembling, you're awakening. If you feel fear but keep moving forward, you're not failing. You're transforming. Stand on the edge, feel the wind, embrace the fear, and walk anyway. Because what awaits you on the other side is you. When you find yourself on the brink, gripped by both fear and excitement, remember an essential truth. Transformation is not a distant idea. It is an incarnation. Give yourself a moment. Sense the air around you. Feel your feet firmly on the ground. Place a hand on your heart. Whisper softly, "I let go of the life that no longer belongs to me. I trust in what I am becoming, even if I don't yet know how to name it." Now breathe, not for what you have been, but for what is silently arising within you. Then take a journal and ask these questions. What have I overcome? What new part of me is emerging, even if I don't fully understand it yet? What am I afraid of leaving behind, and why? And tonight, light a candle, not in mourning, but in honor. You are not closing a chapter, you are answering a calling, not to return to who you were, but to become who you were always meant to be. You're not late, you're becoming. The detachment, silence, and pain you feel aren't regression, they're signs of resurrection. Your soul is expanding, your path is reconfiguring itself, and the you that's coming has long awaited this moment. The brightest phase of your life won't begin in the spotlight, it will begin here, in the quiet audacity of letting go, listening within, and trusting the invisible as it takes shape. If you feel both fear and vitality, it doesn't mean you're lost. You're on the edge. You're not collapsing. You're standing at a threshold. And beyond that threshold awaits a life that truly reflects your soul. A life that will feel like a homecoming. It's the silent call of the psyche, where what seems like an end reveals itself as a transition, and the new version of you has already begun to emerge. If this message resonates with you, support it with a like, share your experience in the comments, and subscribe to the channel to stay connected to the next steps.